Thank you all for your patience this evening. We first like to welcome each and every one of you all to the New Black Wall Street Market. I'm Matt Hampton, the director of the New Black Wall Street Market and the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute. And this event, of course, is the Life and Legacy Fireside Chat for Mr. Bill Allen. One of the things that each of us who knew Mr. Allen very well knew is that he wanted us to have a short funeral service for him. But we know that his life was impactful. We know that he had a number of friends. We know that he had family. We know that many of you all in this community were positively impacted by Mr. Bill Allen. So we wanted to take this time to gather our leaders together and have conversations about the legacy and the life and how we move forward as a community. And we also wanted to hear from you. And we wanted to share in discussing this legacy, this mission, and what it looks like as we move forward and in honoring the life and the legacy. And so on our dais and our fireside guests this evening, we selected folks that we thought Mr. Allen had a very dynamic life. And as many of you all know, we are doing everything that we can to honor that life. So much so that they had all the wrong information in On Common Ground. It is not a private funeral, okay? We'll make sure that's understood. But the man had a big life, and we have a lot to do to just try to embody this moment. And so we have some dais members that are going to be are taking some questions directly this evening and kind of helping us to illustrate just how awesome this man was and what we must do next. I would like to start off by introducing Dr. C.H. Brady, who is Mr. Allen's godson and also a very successful entrepreneur. Dr. Brady, would you please come forward? If there is a person that embodies Mr. Allen, it would be Dr. C.H. Brady. He is a medical doctor with a thriving practice. He also is, there are two black folks in the country that own golf courses with country clubs, and this is one of them sitting before you right now. Dr. C.H. Brady owns Lake Spivey Golf Course and Country Club, as well as a number of other real estate holdings. And so Dr. Brady has had an opportunity to be with Mr. Allen for a number of years, and he represents the family. He is Mr. Allen's family and godson. Also, we would like to introduce Mr. Leighton Hull. Mr. Hull. Mr. Hull is the CEO of Atlantic Food Company, and as we all know it, Bojangles. He probably done put a couple inches on everybody's waist in the room with them biscuits. So Mr. Leighton Hull. We also have our chief of staff, Mr. Olalade Oteyeme. You all may not know Olalade. He's from Nigeria, and he is leading the staff of the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute and also the New Black Wall Street Market. And so he is an awesome young man that came to us through the Yali program, and he has elevated himself, and he's doing a dynamic job of managing all the resources that Mr. Allen entrusted to us to move this organization forward. And then I left her last, but certainly not least. We have one other panelist that is a little bit late, but Pastor Jamal Bryant will be here. As you all know, Pastor Bryant, he's been a constant partner for us here. He's been our biggest cheerleader. He is a leader in this community that is making a great impact, and so we also will have him joining us lately, but I'll say the good stuff about him before he gets here, and I make fun of him for being late. But then last, I think this is, I told her when I saw her at another event about a week or two ago, when she came in the room, she just electrified the entire room. I think she is the people's champion, and she is our new CEO-elect, Mrs. Lorraine Cochran Johnson. Before
Good evening, my people.
Before she went to the big time zone, she started with us at the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute as one of our mentors, and that's how we began our relationship. And she has been a supporter, friend, and part of the family at the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute. And so we're super excited to have her with us this evening. Before we get started, I think always when we get together as a people, and certainly for an occasion such as this, we must begin with the moment of prayer. And so I would ask that Dr. Brady, if you could come and take the dais and deliver a word of prayer, and we'll go ahead and get started with the fireside chat.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you today, Lord God. We come before you with thanksgiving. We thank you for the life, the legacy, and this magnitude of a vision of our father, Lecester Bill Allen. Lord God, I thank you for those that are here today. I thank you for this city. I thank you for our officials. Now, God, anoint this chat, God. Let us have wisdom. Let us gain understanding. And let us go forth with power and demonstration, that this be a fire that is not just a fireside chat, but let it light up us. Lord, just ignite us to continue to grow in you and to continue to grow this city as a city that is not just made by man's hand, but a city that is anointed by you. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you for that, Dr. Brady. I also think it's important that we also recognize the staff of the New Black Wall Street Market and the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute. So everybody on the staff, would you all please stand up or raise your hands if you're already standing up working, because y'all probably working. And so I'll start off, we're going to start off the fireside chat with a couple of questions. And I have something, y'all know I watch Joel Osteen, I be stealing his jokes. But I had something funny I wanted to share with you guys. So there was this rich guy, and this rich guy had a party. And what he did is he put 4 or 5 sharks in his pool. And he told all his guests, he lined them up on one side of the pool, and he said, look, I'm going to give $1 million to any of you all that's got enough guts to jump in this water and swim across with all these sharks in it. So everybody's just looking like, nah. And all of a sudden you heard, guy starts swimming, fighting the sharks, swinging on the sharks. He gets across the thing. The rich guy looks at me and said, man, you gotta be crazy. What was that made you actually jump in that pool and go across that shark? He said, he looked up at him, breathing heavy, and he said, I don't know. I'm just looking for the son bitch that pushed me into this pool. Now, the reason I think that joke is appropriate is because anybody, especially the staff of the New Black Wall Street Marketing Institute, y'all understand, Mr. Allen wasn't the rich man in that story. He was the one that was pushing us into the pool. But one of the things I wanted to say, just to start up and kind of warm our diaz up, is that Mr. Allen was the one, he was the kind of guy that saw the potential in you. He saw more potential in you than sometimes you would see in yourself. And he always pushed us to be the greatest and to be the best. And so we, Jamal, thank you for showing up. I told him he's gonna come in here and show out, but I gotta give him a hard time once he gets here. But what I like to do is I like to start, I'm gonna give Jamal a little time to warm up so he can get ready. But I'm going to start with Olalade. The first thing we like to ask our fireside guests this evening, give us your favorite Bill Allen story, or when you met Bill Allen, what impressed you the most about Bill Allen? And if you guys can do about 2 minutes on these, I want to make sure I got time for the audience to get about an hour in. But we're going to start off with you all telling your favorite Bill Allen story.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right. Meeting Bill Allen was a very interesting experience for me. I met him for the first time in 2017. I came into the US for the first time through a program started by President Obama called the YALI program, Young African Leaders Initiative. And President Obama started this program to connect Americans with Africans in the motherland. And we spent 3 days at the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute, and for the first time I saw a man who was pouring himself into developing and helping and growing his people. You know, coming from Nigeria, we have a lot of very wealthy, very rich people. In fact, the richest black man in the world is Nigerian, right? So, and that just changed it for me. So, the first question I asked him was a very funny question. I'm like, why are you doing all of this? And he looked at me. He's like, nobody has ever asked me that. I'm like, are you sure you're okay? He's They're like, why did you say that? I'm like, because I would expect that you should have better things to do with your money than, feeding young people, putting them in your hotel, teaching them about entrepreneurship, staying up with them till like 3 a.m. in the morning, just pouring yourself into them. And you're not getting anything back from it. So, because growing up, everyone that I knew who was that wealthy would do something because they would get something back from it. So, and we started this long conversation, and like they say, the rest is history. Thank you.
Thank you, Olade. Mr. Hall?
Yeah. Boy, there's so many stories, Matt. But probably the one that intrigued me most about Bill Allen is he told the story about one of the times in his life that he retired. Now, as many of you know, before Black Wall Street and before the Entrepreneurial Institute, Bill was very successful in a whole nother field, the field of education. How many people knew that? Okay, so Bill had schools all over the country, charter schools. So I remember him telling me the story one time about retirement. He considered retiring. Now, he'd made plenty of money. That's no secret. And his friend said, well, man, if you're going to retire, you ought to get a boat. That's what retired people do who have a lot of money. They get a boat and hang out on the water and relax and fish and, eat and so forth. I'm talking about a boat that you hire a crew for. I'm not talking about a motorboat. All right. So Bill said, okay, well, let's go around and look at some boats. So they went from place to place, yacht stores, yacht houses, yacht facilities where you walk through the boats and you look at the galleys downstairs. Many of them had bedroom suites on board. And so Bill thought, well, maybe that's what I'll do with some of this money. Maybe I will retire and buy a boat. So he said he went back, he thought about it, and he thought about it some more, and decided rather than buy a yacht and relax on somebody's ocean somewhere, that he would invest in young men like the man to my left. That's Bill Allen.
Dr. Brad?
Well, I have so many stories about the old man. Being a part of my life for close to 25 years, I'm a man of faith. And so everybody knows that whenever he would have he would just chop you down, and then the next thing you know, he'd be joking and laughing. And so I started our church in my apartment, and I had 2 people. And so Dr. Brian, he comes, and I said, well, Pops, I want you to come, to our service. And he came and he says, Brady, this ain't no church. You got 2 fat women. And he would continue to come to the church. He would leave Antioch leave early, and he'd always, come to Now Faith. And as we continue to grow, he looked at me and one day and he said, I see that you've grown and the church has grown, and we're packing out this facility, our church in Grant Park. And he says, Brady, it's time, son, it's time for you to get a bigger church. And I said, yeah, it is time for me to get a bigger church, but you despise not small beginnings. So now he's like, it's time for you to get a bigger church, because when I come, I can't even get a seat. So he said, you got to get with a broker. And anybody that knows, my pops, he was very much so a bully, and just say, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll get a broker now, and we start looking for church. And he would go with me to look for a church. We found this spot in East Point. He said, this is the perfect church. You got an educational wing. I think it was 1.2 million, 1.2.5 million. And he said, you can have your school here. And this is the church. You need to put this church under contract right now. And so I'm like, well, I guess I can go to the board and talk with them. And okay, we're going to put the church under contract. And I did not know, how to get a loan. And so, but I got the church under contract. And I was so embarrassed as a young lad, kind of coming up in the ministry. He called me the 3 days before the contract was up. And he said, son, have you, where's the closing going to be? Because I want to make sure that I'm there. And I said, well, Pops, I don't have we couldn't get a loan. And I didn't want to tell him that we couldn't get a loan. It was just something about that, I wanted to be able to say, hey, we got the loan, but we couldn't get a loan. And little did I know that he was actually talking with the broker every week. And he goes, call the broker and tell the broker to extend the contract 7 more days. And he said, I'm going to and tell him you're going to pay cash. I'm going to write you a check for $2 million. You're going to pay $1.2 million for the church, and then you're going to renovate that church with the rest. And I can't find, I've searched all over. And that's the kind of man that he was to me. And when you talk about true fathership, he actually was willing to write. And I called him back and the next day, and I said, Pops, I really appreciate it, but I got to turn you down. He said, well, why? And I said, well, you've been teaching me since I was 19 that you got to be bankable. You got to be bankable, Brady. You just can't have just money and you're still not bankable. You got to be bankable. And I said, we're not bankable. And I said, so, and then he says, well, son, at least you've been listening. But he said the $2 million is still there. But as the years continued, we became bankable. And now we have several. So that's one of my stories.
Well, I'm not sure where to start in terms of our relationship, because those of us who are sitting here who really knew Mr. Allen, there were a lot of incredible moments. I would say, because I first came to him, I've had 2 extremely dynamic mentors in my life. And it so happened that 2, they were both male. So in many ways, I kind of moved like them, because you learn from those who teach you. And one is Mr. Bill Picard. Many of you in here may not know who Bill Picard is, but he also comes from Detroit. Again, extremely wealthy man, but not just fiscally, but also a morally decent person who cared about people, and primarily also the elevation of their race. So one day, I get a call from Mr. Allen, because he would call me when he needed something in particular. But actually, to be honest, he didn't call me. Matt called me. He would summon you through Matt. And this is what was strange. I looked at the phone, and it was Mr. Allen himself. And I thought, well, what does he need? So I answered, and he said, Lorraine, I need you to come over. I need you to come over. I need to speak with you. I need to share something with you. And I said, well, when would you like me to come? So we struck an agreement that I would be there, that next morning. I always start my appointments at 9. So he was the first thing on my calendar the next day because of his urgency. So when I get there, I go to the, I guess you'd say the hotel, and he meets me at the door. And he said, "Oh, we're going for a ride." And I thought, well, this is bizarre. I didn't know you drive. I've never, so you driving around and you're driving me. So we get in the car, and he starts driving around Stonecrest. And he said to me, "I wanted you to see what I've done." And it was at that time that he started to pull over on the side of the road, and he would say, "Do you see all that?" And I would say, "Yes." He said, "I bought it." We would turn another corner, and he would say, "And do you see back there by that tree in the far distance?" He said, "I bought all that." So this went on for probably about a 40-minute drive. And everywhere he went, he gave me notice that he bought it. And that with that acquisition, it had made him the largest landowner in the city of Stonecrest. And he said, "Lorraine, I want to build a new Black Wall Street." So I had initially worked with Bill Allen prior to you all knowing me as a county commissioner or electing me as your CEO for well over a decade, because my specialty is marketing and advertising. So we went back to the hotel, and as he always does, he had full service. We had lunch by this time, and it was at that time I had something for him too. So he said, "Lorraine, we've got to work hard. I have some plans." And I said, I wanted to share something with you too. And I announced to him that I was running for Super District 7 Commissioner. And I can still remember him putting down all of his utensils and wiping his mouth, because as Dr. Brady said, he would issue you an opinion. You didn't come with one. He gave you the opinion. And he wiped his mouth and he said, "Why would you want to do that?" He said, "You're a businesswoman. That's not who you are." And I said, "Well, it's what I feel led to do, because I live in the same community that you do. So your ministry is in finance and entrepreneurship, and mine will be in community service." And he picked up his sandwich and continued eating. And that was because whatever you said to him, you had to be clear, because he liked people who had a vision. And to be honest, he didn't relate well to everyone. He didn't do that well, but he had a heart for everyone. I knew a man who wanted people to be successful, and he cared so much about people that if you could not get it together, he couldn't relate to that. So that was probably my most dynamic moment, because he expected me to help him build that Black Wall Street. And I had just told him I had another vision. So now, though, I do look forward to completing what he started.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Matt, for giving me the privilege to share. I knew Mr. Allen probably the least amount of everyone else on the stage. I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Allen my first week as pastor of New Birth. I have no idea where he got my cell number from. And he called me and introduced himself and said that he had mutual friends who were pastors in Detroit that told him to look out for me. And he picked me up from the hotel I was staying in and took me to breakfast. We sat down. Mind you, I don't know him, never met him, never heard of him, never laid eyes on him. And as soon as we sat down, He asked, have you signed a contract yet? So I said, no. So he said, okay, this is what you asked for. This is what they have. This is what they don't have. He says, they're going to play you low, but you got to maintain your value. I said, all right. So I'm writing it all down on the napkin. And he then took me from breakfast, and we drove out here to Stonecrest, and took me on this same drive, and asked what did I envision about all of this property. And he shared the vision for the Black Wall Street Market, and I told him that I was in, and that I'd done something similar on a much smaller scale in Baltimore, and we connected. I came in December of 2018. So Mr. Allen had on a sweater vest and argyle socks and a hunting jacket and khakis. I still remember it to this day. And he pulls me back up to the hotel, and I said, man, you are a real rare breed. And he took it as a compliment. And he said, oh, thank you, self-deprecating. And I said, no, I mean, you need to be in the Smithsonian. So he said, for what? I said, you are the very first uppity grassroots Negro I've ever met in my life. He was everything Martha's Vineyard and Brooklyn at the same time. And you couldn't let his demeanor or his tone throw you off because he couldn't figure out from one way. He was called to the projects but loved the mansion. So that tension of black bipolar existence came out every now and again. And so those of you who worked with him or were in the intimate space, you could see both sides of who Dr. Allen was. He wanted to help our people, elevate our people, but became frustrated with our people. And sometimes in his acting out, it was, I had to learn, it was really just tough love because he wanted so much for us and wanted us to really get to another level and function at a different level. To get from Arkansas to a yacht is a long journey. And I think all of us are the better because of it. So unlike a doctor here, I forced myself into being the godson. He was named one. I named myself the godson and said, you got to put me in. And I said that with a living father. I said, I will be the prodigal son. I'm coming back. And when my parents first came to Atlanta after I became the pastor, he took my parents out. And I got up and made an announcement. I am now Jamal Harrison Allen. And I'm sick of being with the broke brides. I'm going on to the Allens. But I'm just grateful for his legacy, for his life, and really for his authentic, genuine realness. And the greatest lie that will be told on Saturday is to know him is to love him. That ain't true. You got to choose to love Mr. Allen because Mr. Allen chooses who he's going to love. And I'm thankful that he was clear about his boundaries. He was clear about his space, and he was clear about his vision. And so I am the better just because God had our paths cross.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's a perfect dovetail into our next question. We wanted to make sure that as we unfold this, that we give you all a glimpse into the life. And Mr. Allen, as many of you know who've heard one of the 1,000 stories, as he told you, he was the man of 1,000 stories. You know, Mr. Allen started off in Arkansas, Dumas, Arkansas, and on a plantation. And so, Dr. Brady, could you kind of help us and kind of illustrate for us what were some of those things that you think that Mr. Allen got from his childhood? What were some of the things that made him the man that we all came to love and to know that he gained from that growing up in Dumas, Arkansas. I think you can probably unfold that better from anyone else on the panel.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the fact that, you know, he was born on a plantation, and humble beginnings. He actually didn't think that he would live to be 80, because his father died at the age of 9, while he was 9, and so, but they were poor, but they were the only house with a phone. And so people in the neighborhood, in the community, they would come to the house and knock on the door because they needed to use the phone. And then people would call, and they would actually have to go, he'd actually have to go and get other people, you know, throughout the neighborhood. So they were like the phone service. And they also had a hearse. So they were the EMS. And so people would get sick. You know, we didn't have the EMS, and they put them in the hearse and, you know, drive them to the hospital, the black hospital. So you have this man who comes up from humble beginnings, but yet he was positioned, I believe, in the right place. He used to always walk past Mr. Pickens' house, and he would always say, you know, when I get older, I'm going to build a house like Mr. Pickens. And Mr. Pickens' house was a plantation house. And that house, he was supposed to build Mr. Pickens' house. You know, the mansion was supposed to be Mr. Pickens' house, but the mansion ended up being 10 times bigger than Mr. Pickens' house. So his beginning was humble, and so that's where you get the uppity and the Bronx, because he would tell you, now Brady, now that's just straight niggerology. There are rules, and then, you know, but yet, you know, he would give. And so when I look at Miss Rebecca, his mother, she was a giver, and that's where I believe that he got his spirit of giving from. It was in his bloodline. And so coming here to Atlanta when he was a young lad, and actually going to Auburn Avenue, seeing blacks with suits on, and who owned, you know, businesses and you know, the kings and the churches, and it was something different. And that right there sparked him as a young lad to say, you know what, when I get older, I'm gonna come back to Atlanta. And by way of Detroit, you know, he actually came back, and this is where he wanted to that actually inspired him to come back to Atlanta.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I wanted to, I think that's a good segue into our next question. Mr. Hull, you've been a volunteer, and I think I want to ask this one of both Mr. Hull and our CEO-elect. You know, you all have worked directly with the young people who have had an opportunity to have experiences at the main campus. Can you all kind of tell us, what was his energy like, and what was your experience like when you had an opportunity to see him in action doing the business of the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute?
Yeah, very good question. You know, Mr. Allen was a person who saw the best in people. He had a sense of the possibilities that we all have, and he saw it. And he got a real delight out of pushing the buttons required to bring the best out of all of us. I mentioned this young man to my left. he had the energy, the dream to bring the best out of this man, the young men and women from all over Africa and from all over this country. That was the delight that he got out of life. That was what moved Bill. And you know, there are not very many of those. I'm talking about wealthy men who take the time for everybody else. You hear me? I'm talking about a man who could be on that yacht that we talked about, chilling. So, Matt, that was his drug.
Well said. Well said.
Well, for me, I want to say that I was loaned to Bill Allen by Bill Picard, who was the owner of Real Times Media. And before my life in government, I managed the Atlanta Daily World newspaper. Now, some of you may be familiar with ADW, but it is the oldest African-American newspaper in the state of Georgia, the first to be a daily newspaper that was African-American in the country. We had the first White House news correspondent, and we're the only African-American paper to this day who has newsstands in major U.S. airports. So they searched the world to find me, when some of you may know Alexis Scott, who retired and sold the paper. And then one day, once I realized it had not moved into the digital age, I had my hands full with the paper. And I received a call from Bill Picard saying, Lorraine, I don't need you to report to the office this week. I need you to assist my friend, Bill Allen, at the Allen Incubator, Entrepreneurship Incubator. And I'm thinking, well, I have one job. Now, I have a whole week of engagements, but you know, I did as instructed. And generally, when you report places like this, you set up a table. He said, take a presentation on marketing. He needs your assistance. Well, upon arriving, I'm trying to get things out of the car, and Mr. Allen comes out and tells me, don't worry about that. I need you to come in here. These people are here. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't have anything to do with these people. And as a matter of fact, no one told me what time to be here. I reported here at this time because of work. But you do have to get to know Mr. Allen. So I go inside, and he has probably 30 people from all over the world. And I just sort of walked right into my segment that day. So I worked with them that day. And then at the Allen Entrepreneurship Institute, I would return each night at about 9 o'clock, and I would teach and work with those folk from all over the world until about 1 in the morning. Sometimes we would go even longer. And the one thing that I can say that I noticed about Mr. Allen, because, you know, I'm a high energy, high volume producer. And when you're with people who have vision, you'll stay up all night long. Because my grandfather used to say in LA, Lower Alabama, I can sleep when I'm dead. You have to understand the assignment. And the one thing that I can say about Mr. Allen is, I used to think my grandfather said this until I saw it written, and I believe it's a quote from Thomas Jefferson. And it says, he who expects to be ignorant and free expects what never was and never will be. And I believe it's that motivated Mr. Allen, because he wanted everyone to have access. And it was through the creation of the Entrepreneurship Institute that he felt he could give access to people. And it was truly an honor working alongside him. And many of those business owners today from all over the world are friends with me on LinkedIn. Wow. And I can say also that, you know, when you are moving through life, you never know how God is setting you up, because he knows what you don't. And you know, as an elected official, many of you in here, I've never asked anyone for anything. But I have global friends and people who care about my well-being, that through him I sowed into, who now sow into me and my vision. So I think it's important that we all find the Mr. Allens of the world and we invest in each other, because this time we understand the importance of human capital.
Awesome.
That's right.
You know, that's a great segue into the next question. Olalade, you came and met Mr. Allen in 2017, and you had an opportunity to have that experience alongside probably 34 other fellows from throughout the continent of Africa. Can you tell us what it felt like when you had that experience? Because I know it was a life-changing experience for you, and it kind of changed the course in your trajectory as an entrepreneur. So can you just kind of share with us how that institute impacted you and that first experience in 2017?
Sure. Thanks, Matt. So I think I should start from my entrepreneurial journey so it makes sense. All right? So I come from Nigeria, where we have a lot of very wealthy people and a lot of very poor people. I came from a family that wasn't so wealthy. My mom was a single mom, you know, so we had to survive. So I started doing business at the age of 9. By 13, I was able to start taking care of myself. I had this vision that by 35, I wanted to be a billionaire. And I was working really hard. And the funny thing was, I did all manner of businesses. And most of my businesses were actually very successful. So I was making a lot of money for my age. When I was 18, I wanted to buy a car. My mom begged me not to buy a car. I'm like, I have the money. I can buy the car. You know, she's like, no, you're too young, you know, and things like that. So going through all of that, by 21, I actually did become a millionaire. And I was running my smartphone business. I was making smartphones. Coming for Yali, I didn't want to come for Yali because I was doing pretty well. I was popular in the country. I was always in the news, you know. But I guess God has a way of connecting you with the right people so you don't crash your destiny. And I would explain why I said that. The reason why I wanted to be wealthy wasn't because I wanted to help anyone. I just didn't want to be one of the poor people. And I was like, when I become a billionaire, everyone's going to know I'm a billionaire. And I was working night and day to make that happen. So, coming for Yali, before I got into the Yali program, by the way, my wife, who was my fiance then, forced me into the program. She's like, you're the kind of person they want in this program. I'm like, no. I'm already doing pretty well. I was, you know, at that time, I had launched my smartphone brand. It was popular. We were all over Nigeria. We were about to expand to 2 more African countries. I was about to close a deal to start a smartphone manufacturing plant in Lagos, Nigeria. We had already bought the land. We were about to raise financing for it, millions of dollars. So, but my fiance kept saying at that time, you need to go. So the night before it expired, she's like, you know what? Let's do this. I will fill the application. I'll ask you the questions. Just tell me, and I'll type it in. That was how she put me into the program, and I got into the program by force. It was a 6 weeks program at Clark Atlanta. The first few weeks I felt was a waste of my time. I was constantly trying to close the deal in Nigeria, you know, managing stuff. I'm like, what am I doing here? Until I met this man. And I met this man, and it changed everything for me. Because I was this young man who was all about, I'm going to be very rich, I'm going to be very wealthy, I don't want to be one of the poor people. But then I met this man who was just helping people with his wealth. He wasn't trying to make any more money. I'm like, you're the first person I will make who's made money and is trying, working night and day, not to make more, but to help people. So we started talking. So when I got back to Nigeria, I changed everything. Like, I was no longer interested in making money as I was. I was just interested in making impact. So we sort of slowed down on the smartphone business. You know, I founded a leadership institute because I saw what it was doing. In the first year, we had our leadership center. That year before I saw him again, 2018, we had trained about 3,000 young people. And here's what happened for me. Now, I'm at a point in my life where I'm no longer trying to make money. I'm just trying to make impact. 1. 2 is my goal to become a billionaire at 35 was so I could be one of them. Not really because I was trying to help anybody. But I met this man who was so humble with everything he had, related with everybody, like humans. That's not what rich people do where I come from. Rich people trample on the poor. I'm like, that's what you should do when you have money. Let them know you have this money. So getting back, it changed me. And I think one of the things it's done for me is to preserve me, because there's every chance that by now I probably will have, done things or gone in ways that I shouldn't have. I'm just really grateful that I met him. I'm really grateful that meeting him changed my life and many other people. And this is the last thing that I would say. Bill Allen's mission wasn't just about America. He made that very clear. Everyone who knows would say, the mission is to increase the number and size of minority and women-owned businesses throughout the United States and globally. The globally part is a very important part, because there is no part of the world where you don't have people of color. And most importantly, everywhere you have people of color, you see that they are the ones making things happen. The United States will not be what it is today without people of color. So I think we must understand that the global part of Bill Allen's mission is one of the most critical part of that mission. It might start from here, but it goes all the way across the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Olade. Now, I want to ask just a couple more questions, and then we're going to hear from the audience. I want to direct this question to Pastor Bryant and CEO-elect Johnson. As we look as a community, a wise man just told me a few minutes ago, DeKalb County works because we work together, and people know how to make sure we take care of each other. And a big part of this institute, we haven't really worked with anybody because Mr. Allen was paying the bills, and he was like, I'm paying the bills, I don't need to collaborate. But we know that we have to be more collaborative. And as this community of DeKalb County, I want to bring it back hyper-local before we go global. Pastor Bryant, CEO-elect, what does this community need to do? We are facing headwinds here at the New Black Wall Street Market, which is our pilot project to the International Village, which is the larger project. But what right now would be your message to this community as they deal with and look at all of these resources, all of this land, everything that Mr. Allen left as an inheritance to DeKalb County first? What do we need to do as community members, as community leaders, as church leaders, as teachers? What would be your message to the community, and what should we do at this time? Y'all gonna look at it and say, that was a hard one, huh?
No. An old preacher told me years ago when I first started out that a young preacher is like a roll of film. In order to develop, they just need exposure. And I think that what DeKalb County Stonecrest has had a Kodak moment to have the exposure of what is possible. I'm coming from this past weekend, the 30th anniversary of the Essence Festival. That's gone through 3 different names. But Matt, what was so important for the legacy of Mr. Allen is that for the 30th anniversary of Essence Festival, 3 of the vendors are from the New Black Wall Street Market. That says that our impact is still reaching beyond. The dynamics of Atlanta are twofold. One is the civil rights mantle of Dr. King and the economic development mantle of Maynard Jackson. And so much of what we tout is just about Dr. King And so much of what we diminish is the economic DNA of Maynard Jackson that really created millionaires, not just in this city, but for the region and for the South. Mr. Allen did the electric slide backwards, is that in the Industrial Revolution, black people left the South and went to Detroit to find factory jobs and to find the first place of black middle class wealth. And then Negroes from the North started moving back to the South. But I think that we just got a real glimpse of what happens when our economy works in tandem. We have $1 trillion worth of spending power. Collectively, we're the 12th wealthiest nation in the world, and we have nothing to show for it but clothes and cars that we don't produce. And so I want us to really leave out, because we're going to the audience in a minute, so I don't know if I'll have another opportunity to say to you that whenever we came to the market, Mr. Allen would only tout one word: ownership, ownership, ownership. And so I think it's very important for us to really lift that standard of greatness of what it means to do what we only quote during Kwanzaa, cooperative economics. To know what happens when we interlope our resources and our creativity to do something great. I said to Mr. Allen in private and never in a microphone that I was embarrassed and ashamed that Mr. Allen did more than any mega church in Georgia, of raising what it means to be economically responsible, to create an environment where we learn about our economy and then to model it. Mr. Allen taught me a lesson, and that is a lesson that is lost to my generation and the generation behind me, and that is to be great is not to be popular. And a lot of us have really done the transactional move that we think that our greatness is connected to notoriety. Those of you who know Mr. Allen know he didn't want to be in front of a camera. He didn't want to be interviewed. He didn't want to be on the news. He wanted to do it in a quiet way. And if we can really model it for the next generation, and I'll go a step further and model it to churches that have fellowship halls that are as big as the new Black Wall Street Market, and they not selling nothing but pound cake and fried chicken. But if we would take this model and take it across the country of what it really means to model the excellence of a black economy.
Thank you for that.
Let me say, Pastor Brian, I love the use of the term modeling. You know, as I sit here, I would defer to you as the biblical scholar. But somewhere between Genesis and Revelations, it states that it's time that we write the vision and make it plain. And in our community, even as an elected official, I believe it's time we have a Moses moment. I have seen us not have necessary conversations. I've seen those with capacity fail to educate, to empower, and to open doors. And as a result, we find ourselves where we are today as a community. You know, when you sit here in Stonecrest, this zip code is 30038, and it's second only in African American wealth to Prince George's County, Maryland. But how I became an elected official is we look nothing at all like Prince George's County, Maryland. Actually, to take it a step further, it was when my $80,000 car was stolen within yards from my front door. And that's when I realized, after producing the news for decades, that it didn't matter your zip code or where you live, that crime and adversity can find you anywhere and you can become a victim. But I refuse to be victimized within my own community. So for me, when I think of where we are and the potential and the vision that Mr. Allen had for the Black Wall Street and for our community, and I want to be very clear that when we talk about our community, we have to use certain words like equity. And it's time that whether you're on a national level, a state or local level, you understand that a hand up is not a handout, because we are dealing with decades of a lack of knowledge. So for me, as an elected official, I feel I have a fiduciary responsibility independent of an oath of office to ensure that I provide access to everyone in this room and beyond, whether that's in the way and form of housing and housing creation, because DeKalb County, fourth largest county in the state of Georgia, and in terms of housing development, we have failed miserably on a regional level. I know the numbers. People lie and numbers don't. It's time we as elected officials, it's time we who are members of the clergy, it's time those of us who have capacity open doors, because our future and our community depends on it. So it's my responsibility to help you, Matt. It's my responsibility to do that, and I look forward to working alongside you, because in government, we need partners like the Black Wall Street, because people look to government for what they can't provide for themselves. Folk need wraparound services. And that's what you provide, because DeKalb County does not teach entrepreneurship, but you do. And that can be a valuable tool for us, putting around you partners who give access, like John Hope Bryant, a dear friend of mine. They have a 1,000 business initiative, and John has incredible funding. So for those of you who are entrepreneurs who need a Shopify account, they will walk you through the entire process, cover your fees, and you can begin selling globally, not locally. These are the type conversations we need to have through people like you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I want to ask the same question. I was going to do a couple more questions for the panel, and then we'll go to the audience. I wanted to ask Dr. Hull and Dr. Brady, from an entrepreneur's perspective, the same question. You know, what do entrepreneurs, what should the business community, and I look around the room and I see entrepreneurs like Fatima and Corey Ackerman and so many of the members of the New Black Wall Street Market here. What is the message for entrepreneurs at various levels? What should we do and what should we garner from this life and from this legacy as entrepreneurs to make an impact in our community?
Well, thank you for the question, sir. As a community, what we can do is demand that those in business be the best. Push your business folk, particularly those who are in retail, to be the best, because it's that demand, the demand that they be the best, which will push business people to produce better. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oftentimes, folks sometimes think that when business is done in our community, okay is good enough. Do you follow what I'm saying? You know, you can expect what you inspect, but you must demand that our folk be the best, because that's what will push not only the folk in the business community, but those who are thinking about going into business. I'm talking about our children. I'm talking about the teenagers. I'm talking about every stakeholder in the community has to be pushed. Business has to become the language of every day for us as a people. Most of us don't grow up with a Wall Street Journal laying on the coffee table. Most of us don't. And I heard one of the panelists say something about exposure. The secret is exposure. Black folk are so smart, so talented, but we lack, as a people, exposure. You see? It's exposure. Everything that we've been exposed to in the way of athletics, in the way of entertainment, we've excelled. We outperformed those who kept us out of the game. The same is true for entrepreneurship. Bill Allen is, a perfect example. You mentioned another friend, the brother from Detroit. Okay, former McDonald's owner, passed away not long ago. So, the key, I think, is exposure and encouraging folks to dream big. It's really about dreams, dreaming big. You know, one quick thing about Bill is flying in here this afternoon, I was thinking about what would you say about your friend if you had to pick a word to describe your friend? What word would some of the folks use in this room if you had to pick a word to describe somebody like a Bill? Think about that for a moment. What word would you use? What came to me on the plane this afternoon was a pebble. A pebble. Have you ever thrown a pebble into a pond and watched the ripple effect? The pond is never the same once that pebble entered the water. The pebble affected not only the surface, but down deep. A pebble. So it's up to all of us to be that pebble. Sir.
I would say exposure provokes change. You can never come into contact with something great and just be the same. I was able to stand, and I was honored to be beside my father for the last 40 days. And out of the close to 25 years he's been in my life, I've learned more in the last 40 days than out of 25 years on so many different levels. The entrepreneurial spirit was so much in him until even on his bed of transition, he was breathing entrepreneurs. He wasn't concerned about the grandchildren. He wasn't concerned about my god sister. He wasn't concerned about him. He truly denied himself. He was concerned about this city. He was concerned about the new Black Wall Street. He was concerned about finishing the course, finishing. He was concerned about his people. And I would sit there day and night, and I would ask him, I would say, you know, Pops, you know, why are you being stubborn? He said, I'm tired. And he said, you have everything you need. I've laid the foundation. And in a way, I became selfish because I wanted to keep him just a little longer. Dr. Bryant talks about how he bogarted the Godfather. And this was a long-lasting joke between Pops and myself. I called him one night. Someone had sent me a clip of Dr. Bryant at church, and he was saying, my godfather, I made him my godfather. So I got the clip, and I sent it to him. And I said, what's going on with this? So from that point on, we'd always joke about it. And I said, he said, Jamal's going to be at the market. I said, well, I ain't coming. And, but, interestingly, the true essence of what he was, and I have to say this, we have to hold our elected officials accountable. We have to make them be the sermon, because I'd rather see it than hear one any day. And so when we have, I'm the chair of the Development Authority for Clayton County. And my first objective for my first term this year was to do $1 billion in bond financing. And I think we're going to get there. But I was talking to him while he was at the hospital. And we were just sharing some things, and he was sharing some things. He said, this is how I want to. I'm like, you're just stubborn. Just get yourself together. He said, Brady, I'm tired. And then he'd make a joke. And he said, but just make sure that you don't let anybody take what you all have.
Yes, indeed.
And he said something to me. He said, in his last couple weeks, maybe the last 2 weeks, he mentioned Dr. Bryant. I said, Pops.
None of this can be verified. We just we just gonna take his word for it.
He don't know I have it on tape. He says, Brady. He says, Brady. And you know what? I need you. He talked about the land, talked about, his desire to work with the city. He talked about his desire. He said, go and make peace. And I'm like, whatever I need to do, if I need to get on one knee, if I need to read you a poem, sing you a song, so that we can get together, because we are the ecosystem. I've never seen, in Clayton, we have 5 all-black commissions. Out of the 159 counties, the only county, all-black commission, the airport is in Clayton County. The world's busiest and most efficient airport is in Clayton County. And it was sold when we sold it out for 30 pieces of silver. We have an all-black judiciary. But there is fighting. We have our own ecosystem, our own Mecca. But we just have to know that it's more of us who are off the plantation and sitting in high seats.
Yeah. Teach.
And now it's time for us to understand and cognitively restruct our thinking. He used to say, you have to be brainwashed. I gotta brainwash you. And I didn't know what he was saying until I started to have to do a payroll. Grow staff from 5 to 500. And now it becomes lonely at the top. But then we have to then become the talented 10th and speak for those who can't speak for themselves. So he said, while he's at the hospital, he looked at me. He said, Brady, work with Jamal.
Yes, he said it.
He said, because you know I got to have a conservative. You're a conservative, and he's a radical.
These quotes are verified.
And a negative plus a positive gives you energy.
Well done, well done. We appreciate everything. I want you guys to stay here just in case we have questions or things that we may want to respond to that come from the audience. I think that we're going to transition a microphone to the middle mic right now. And as they're doing that, I wanted to give Olalade an opportunity. What can we expect? Olalade is our new chief of staff. And so Olalade, what can we expect in terms of the leadership of the New Black Wall Street Market, the staff? What are your thoughts, and what can this community expect from us moving forward?
Thank you. I think we all understand that Bill Allen was all about one thing, right? And that's ownership. And his theory, in my sphere, we call it a theory of change. And his theory of change is simple. If you can get as many black people as possible to become entrepreneurs and run successful businesses, they will own more pieces of this country and eventually own more pieces of this world. Now, when he says pieces, he's actually talking about parcels of land. That being said, there are so many ways, right, for this ownership to happen. But one of the critical ways is to create an ecosystem of people of color who are working together to build successful businesses, just as they did back then in Tulsa, in Oklahoma. And that's the whole essence of the New Black Wall Street Market. And this is what we're going to continue doing. This market that you're sitting in is a testament of Bill Allen's tenacity, his love for his people, and his dedication to black people owning things and owning pieces and parcels of this country. Going forward, there's so many things lined up in front of us. We have the development of the New Black Wall Street International Village. We're hoping that working with the community, that we're able to replicate this model across the United States and every other places around the world. And the reason why that is important is because, okay, let me say it this way. If you go back hundreds of years ago, you see that the tactics that was used, right, to keep black people down was to get black people not to work with one another. The masters then came to Africa, where I'm from, picked our strongest, our best, right, brought them here, and would elevate some of them above the others. And they called it the concept of dividing and conquering. Today, the only thing that is still succeeding in their tactics is the dividing and conquering tactics. Dr. Brady was giving a speech the other time here, and one of the things he said in his speech was that the slave masters are not holding us down anymore. People of color are now the ones working against each other to hinder the progress we can make. One of the things we would like to see, and we will see going forward, is all of us working together to make this mission a reality. And that is going to change the dynamics for not just the New Black Wall Street market, but every person of color in this country and globally. We would agree with me that Africa is not one of the most advanced continents in the world. However, we also agree with the Wakanda concept. How many of us agree with that concept? So we can see that there's a disconnect between what Africa should be and what it is. The same way, there's still a disconnect between what people of color should be and what it is today. Our goal is to use the tool of entrepreneurship to bridge that gap. That is, create businesses that are solving problems, that are excellent, like Mr. Hall just said, that are working together in an ecosystem. And this is the prototype that the New Black Wall Street market is trying to emulate. Once we do that here and we get it right, we can replicate it anywhere else. Mr. Hall runs one of the most successful black-owned, fast food chain, right? The only way you can succeed in that space is for you to create something that is called a franchise. And what is a franchise? It's really creating a system that works, that you've tested, that you can then begin to copy and paste in different locations. New Black Wall Street market that you're sitting in Stonecrest, Georgia right now is just one of the many that are to come. But it can't happen if we all don't work together to make it happen. And I think when I say we all, I mean everyone in this room and everyone who wants to see people of color succeed and build significant edifices in this country and across the world. And I think that's what everyone here should look forward to. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Olade. Okay. A few housekeeping notes. I wanted to first, before we start the comments and questions from the audience, I wanted to recognize a city council person that's in the audience, Miss Alicia Washington. Would you please stand? Alicia, before becoming a big time, now keep standing. You know I'm gonna put it on you. Before becoming a big-time council person, she was a humble volunteer here. You all may have seen her as a greeter right here at the New Black Wall Street Market. And we are forever grateful for your service as a volunteer and your service on the city council. We are honored that you represent the city of Stonecrest tonight as one of the city council members here. Also, I would like to, I'll let you go now. Go ahead, you good. Thank you, Alicia. I also would like all the elected officials in the room to please stand if you are an elected official. Okay, I can comment since there's only a couple. Judge Alexander's been a good friend of ours. She's brought Junior Jack and Jill. I know it started with a J. She brought Jack and Jill here. We've done a lot of collaborations to teach financial literacy, and that was one of Mr. Allen's favorite things to do. Also, Representative Viola Davis is here. I wanted to recognize her. She's played a leading role in having a constituent services office here at the New Black Wall Street Market, which gives us the connective tissue into both Republicans and Democrats and over 27 legislative folks who are now connected with the New Black Wall Street Market. So we thank you all for your service and for your efforts to emulate and to magnify the mission of Mr. Bill Allen. And so again, I wanted to thank you all. So now we're gonna do this kind of like church and a funeral now. We're gonna do 3 minutes, and I'm gonna run the timer up here. It's 2 minutes. I was trying to be gracious with them, but we'll do 2-minute comments or questions. If you all have a comment or question that you would like to ask, we just ask that you step up to the microphone, and we'll field those. We have about 45 minutes before we need to go ahead and get on out of here. So we'll go ahead and please bring yourself up. And please introduce yourself when you come to the mic as well. Thank you.
Hey, great evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean J. Harris of Generational Wealth Academy. Pastor Bryant, CEO-elect, all the panels, Mr. Hull, it's an honor to see you all. As Mr. Hampton said, I just want to share a brief, and I'm going to be very brief because I believe in brevity. My family actually owned the first 2 African-American-owned hotels in the city of Atlanta back during the pre-civil rights era. So when we met Mr. Allen, his spirit resonated with me. A lot of you guys from the market know me, know my son, Caden Harris. He's a 13-year-old high school graduate, 6-figure earning CEO, and financial prodigy. But the message that I want to bring home is that Mr. Allen was a visionary. He had a vision. Now, what's the difference between vision and sight? Sight is being able to see down the road to the stop sign. Vision is being able to see down the road to the stop sign, around the corner, up the street, and down the next street. All right. That's a vision. So the thing that I want to implore with everybody today is dig down deep inside and find your vision. Yeah. What is your gift? That's one question I want everybody to ask themselves tonight. What is your gift? Dr. Harris, what do you mean? What is my gift? A gift is something that comes incredibly easy to you, Dr. Hull, but hard for most others. So that's why it's important to not just momentarily celebrate the legacy of Mr. Allen, but to really put on your work boots and finish the mission. I would just see how Mr. Allen would light up so much when he saw Caden, because he saw that as an extension of his vision, of his legacy. So Dr. Hull just talked about having exposure. Many people ask, well, Dr. Harris, how do you have a 6-figure earning 13-year-old? It's because we expose them to things. I come from a long lineage of entrepreneurs. My parents own companies. My wife and I own multiple companies. My 13 and my 14-year-old both own 6-figure companies, but that came from exposure. So financial literacy is an important piece. We're all getting older. Yeah. I know I look 25, but I'm 52. I'm getting up there a little bit. But here's the deal. It's important. It's incumbent of us to share wisdom and knowledge to the next generation. That's right. But it starts early. That's my time, so I'm wrapping up. Make impact. It's one thing to make money. We can all make money. But are you making impact? It's almost impossible to make impact without making money. Thank you for the time.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charlotte Kane, and I want to talk about Mr. Allen. When we became a city in 2017, years ago, I sat at the knee of another great person, Mr. Charles Johnson, who did the Sweet Auburn Festival that had hundreds of thousands of people, and I had the pleasure of being the entertainment director for 13 years with him. So when we became a city, I said, we're going to have a festival, the Stonecrest Fest. And Mr. Allen was one of the first people to sponsor that festival in 2017. He set up a big thing for me at the AEI factory, had me looking like real classy and everything, and I was like, oh, everybody's like, wow, this is nice. And he made a financial contribution, and Mr. Hall, you were also one of the first people to sponsor the Stonecrest Fest, and we will be having it this year, October 5th. We want to see you all there. But the other thing with Mr. Allen, when I started the Drone Soccer League and I showed him this drone soccer and the STEM League, he's like, I need that right here. And they have been so supportive of children coming here, having games, putting up the arena. So when you have a vision and you have a dream and you can come to someone who believes in that and encourages you, he certainly encouraged me, and I will always be thankful for his encouragement.
Matt, while the next person is coming, if
Yes,
you'll yield to me, just a privilege. I think it's incumbent upon us. One, I want to salute and celebrate the staff of New Black Wall Street Market, those who have been carrying the torch of the vision. You're only as good as your staff. And really the unsung heroes who are brought in as a seed plot of faith. Let's salute and celebrate all of the vendors who have been committed through all of the ups and downs and the turns of New Black Wall Street. Thank you, and we salute all of you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Brady.
Yes, my name is
Pastor
Audrey
Bryant.
Howard, and I met Mr. Allen when the Black Wall Street first opened And since then, everywhere I see him, he acknowledged me. And I didn't realize he was in the process of revitalizing a place that I love, Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was in the process of revitalizing that area. And I learned that since his death, and I really didn't know. I think he's working with his nephew to do that. I also was the one suggested that he have the Mardi Gras celebration here at the Black Wall Street, and he has done that for the last 2 years. And he got out there and did the second line with us, and he was so mild-mannered. I said, oh, Mr. Allen got rhythm, you know? So he will be greatly missed in this community.
Thank you for that.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? All right. My name is Dr. Mitchell. I co-produce BET Comic View 106 in Park, the Apollo, and so on and so on. But I came here, I live right around the corner, and as this was being built, I said, what's going on over there? And so I came in and I met Matt, and Matt talked to me and everything, and I said, well, why is this on television whatsoever? He said, well, such and such. I said, well, wait a minute, man. I own a television network right here in 2.6 billion homes, and I need to help whatever I have to do called XOD Network. Matt said, well, talk to that man over there. I said, what man? That man right there. Man moving chairs and doing all this other stuff? He said, yeah, that's the owner. I said, Okay. Went over there, I said, Mr. Allen, check this out. He said, hold on, son. What's the pitch? I said, the pitch is, we've been on everyone else's platform and plantation. We went from MySpace to Facebook, from Facebook to Twitter, from Twitter to Instagram, Snapchat. We don't own nothing. He said, stop. Say that again. So I said it again. I said, I need to put you on television. As Dr. Brian said, no, he gave me that. Anyone know he gave me that? No. Matt will do that, but talk about my son. So I went to Matt, and I had CBS, NBC, BET. We interviewed Matt. We got Mr. Allen say something, but we dig deep. And we was the first people to put him on television to market this place. He called me that evening. He said, Dominique, my neighbor saw me on television.
In Buckhead.
In Buckhead. Yeah, I said, do you want to be on television now? He said, no. But once in a while, you said something about one thing about a word. I couldn't give a word, but I give a sentence that I always said about him. Mr. Allen has birthed on the earth what he is worth, and he's never gave away his purpose.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right.
Grand Rising. I'm Her Excellency Shantae Lene Herford, and I represent the East Memorial Drive Revitalization Foundation and the Center for Truth and Healing. And the first time I met Mr. Allen, I came up here because I had heard about the new Black Wall Street Market online, and I had actually started a Black Wall Street in my hometown, and so I was going to use this as like the model of what we could do. And so I came up here. It was not open yet, but I was outside just taking pictures and videos, and Mr. Allen comes out, and he said, would you like to see this place? And I said, well, it says it's closed. He said, well, come on in. And I walked in with him, and he introduced me to Matt, and then Matt gave me, he said, Matt's gonna give you the tour. And Matt gave me a tour of the place, and he was just so proud of this place and what he had built for our community. And ever since it's been open, I just come over here, whatever they have, and I try to come and support. It's always good to see Matt. It's good to see Mr. Allen, his smile. And so I was very saddened to hear that he had passed. I was actually on a phone call conducting a meeting, and his name came up. And one of the colleagues said, well, Mr. Bill tried to instill that in us before he left. And I said, left? Where'd he go? I didn't know. And so I'm just glad that he left his legacy, and it was an example, and may his soul rest in peace.
Thank you so much for that.
My name is Shirley Connor, and I'm just here to say thank you. This is really, I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma for over 25 years. And we tried so hard. I was on the committee for years to rebuild the Tulsa situation, and we were unable to do so. So one of the greatest frustrations in my life was our inability, because up until this day, it is still, Black Wall Street has still not been rebuilt. It is here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm so grateful, and every time I would come, I'd be so grateful because we tried so hard, and it was one of the major frustrations of my life. Once I heard about the history, how long they've tried to keep it secret, etc. And I now go to one of the baddest churches in the land. I go to New Birth. You may know my pastor.
That's right.
You may know him. And I'm so grateful that our church has played such an intimate part. I can die. I'm a senior citizen. I can die now with a plethora of memories of boogieing on down, but at the same time getting top quality, cutting edge education, of seeing children and older people. Back in the day, we would all party together. We would celebrate together, and I am so grateful. I say thank you.
All right. We appreciate it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Brother Kareem, and this is Sister Betty.
All right.
She was nursing for 35 years, and she retired. Was home for a year, driving me crazy with the honeydew list, honeydew this, honeydew that, honeydew that. So we said we got to open something for us somehow to do. So we set up a shop in the New Black Wall Street. It's called Everything Atlanta. So if your people come in town, you're ain't souvenirs, anything with Atlanta, we got it. But what I want to say about Mr. Allen, I used to see him, and I was always afraid to say something to him because he just had that look like, don't come here if it ain't correct. So one day I had the courage, and I had said something. He said something to me that no one ever really said to me, and I've been in business a long time. I heard a lot of things about business. But I looked at him, I said, things are getting tight, Mr. Allen, as far as the business. He looked at me and said, be creative, right? And when he said be creative, it hit me that I got to be more creative. So when he said that, that helped me out a lot. So he had an impact on me for being creative. And I'm still trying to be creative.
Yes, and he would walk by all the time, and I'd give him a hug. And he was like, don't you give up, don't you give up. I was like, okay. So he was very encouraging.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all.
My name is Lionel Woodyard. Bill Picard is my cousin. I knew two Bills, two of the greatest Bills on this planet, Bill Allen, Bill Picard, and lightning does strike twice. They're both from Detroit, and they both ended up being in Atlanta. Now, I have a limousine business, a chauffeur service, I prefer to say. And through Ambassador Andrew Young, I've had the honor of driving 13 former heads of states of Africa, from Obasanjo to Festus Mogae Botswana. But this is how I first heard about, I met Bill Allen. Bill Picard was out here visiting Bill Allen. I pride myself as knowing everything about every place in Atlanta. So Bill asked me to come and pick him up at a hotel out in, wasn't Stonecrest then, out here in Decatur. And he was telling me the general vicinity that the hotel, I said, there's no hotel out there. Bill said, I'm sitting in it, Lionel, come on out here, gave me the address. I ended up going before New Black Wall Street. His vision started at the Allen Entrepreneur Institute, where he built the conference center, where he built a hotel that rivals the Ritz-Carlton, the Whitney, or any hotel that you know on this planet. That hotel that he built rivals everything else. So I get there and I see my cuz and I meet my new good friend. The first conference that was held at this new conference center was 100 Black Men of Atlanta, Brother Jamal Thomas Dortch, and the fellows in my chapter were very content going to Chateau Elon. We love going to Chateau Elon, but I said, no, there's a black man with a hotel out in Decatur. They didn't believe it. But when I brought them out here and they saw what this man had built, we bought the first conference here. The keynote speaker at the conference was former Attorney General Eric Holder, who said that this was the most dynamic and perfect place he had ever spent time in. I'll end by saying that Bill Allen, Bill Picard were both men who lived lives that mattered. I wish that I had known that I would have a chance to say something, because there's a very dynamic poem that you should be able to find online that talks about living a life that matters. Because after all of us are going to leave here one day. And what is important is whether you left something here. Bill Allen, it wasn't about what he learned, it was about what he taught. It wasn't about what he had, it was about what he's given. And if you live that kind of life, you'll live a life like these brothers. There they are. Bill Allen, Bill Picard.
Bill Picard is the one in the Atlanta jersey.
Hello, family. My name is Lord Hester. I have the distinguished pleasure of being a part of the staff here at the New Black Wall Street Market. But I, too, have a story about Bill Allen prior to even coming here. You know, I've been a part of economic development and black growth and working in every way I could for black people for the last 55 years of my life. I worked with a woman by the name of Alice Bussey from 1981 till, if she called me right now, I'll go help her. 25 years ago, Alice Bussey said, there's a guy you need to know. There's a guy you need to meet. He's got a hotel, he's got a new mansion, he's got a conference center, and he's doing all of that for black people for real, for free. I said, please. Now, let me be honest with you. I called her a liar. I didn't say you're a liar, but I said, baby, you got to understand, you got a lot of con men out here that's using my people. Because I work all over the country, and I've seen a lot of people come in and throw these con games out and get your confidence up, then disappear with the money. So in my mind, that's what he was. Go another 18 years. I'm looking for an office for one of my clients. You know, I got a client that wants to open up his business here, and then, you know, if you're in Georgia and Atlanta, you can't get a business license if you don't have an address. So I'm trying to find him an address within his budget line, and somebody sent me to the AEI Startup Factory, where I meet this young brother right here. I saw him and his wife molding and building and creating an environment for black business development like I had been trying to do all my career. I've been trying to do what I saw them doing, bringing black people together, working together, building together, doing something. Still, I didn't know that was Bill Allen's thing, all right? So I went with Matt and Maria, and I started working with them, and one day we're having a breakfast. And we're sitting there, and I get there kind of late, and you know, Mr. Allen would have these breakfasts, and Matt would have all of the businesses come in. And so we're sitting there, and in walks this little short guy. I don't know who he is now, and he starts to talk. I said, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then he says, yeah. And then my name is Bill Allen. And I said, ding. I've done nothing since then but this. I've dedicated. Right now they got me on sick leave because I work as hard as I possibly can because I see what he says. I know what he says is real. I know it's going to take us. We can't ask anybody to do for us what we won't do for ourselves. I put my time and my energy in here and do everything I possibly can because that's the only way we're going to make it. This fake bull, I ain't gonna say the last word, is not gonna help us now. We're in the 11th hour, we're in the crunch, and without our own help and support, we ain't gonna make it. And I'm telling you, I'm 73 years old. We are not gonna make it if we don't do it. Everything around us is working against us. And we still giving everything we got to people who don't give us nothing. I stand here and I do tours and I tell the people here that our problem is that we take everything we get and we give it to somebody else who gives us nothing. If we gonna survive, ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving my energy, my health, and everything I can to making this work. I plead with you. Please help. Thank you.
I would like to bring greetings on behalf of the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and our local representative here, Brother Student Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad, to express our deepest condolences to Brother Allen, family, Mrs. Allen, Brother Matt, and all of you all that have helped him along the way. One thing about my brother that I know personally is that when I met him, when I saw him, he reminded me of the work of the Nation of Islam. He had a spirit, and I said have, a spirit because the spirit still lives on in us that represents his spirit. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I met our brother along the way because as my brother just finished speaking about, we must do for self or else suffer the consequences. So I want to say it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to know our brother. And I pray, Allah, that we that are here today will never, ever allow the work that our brother has done to go in vain. So I'm so happy and excited to see Brother Matt. And I pray the staff will continue to stay strong, work together, and not let anything separate you from the work that our brother has put hard time into establish for us as black people in particularly, because many times some of us will be afraid to even use the word black, but this brother was an example of blackness. Thank you, Brother Allen.
Thank you all. The young lady in the green will be our last comment, and then we'll close the service out.
Good evening. I just want to extend the condolences to the Allen family. My name is Boy Akinola, and I've had a chance to work with the great Mr. Bill Allen. May his soul rest in peace. And obviously, I remember when he told me he bought all the land of Stonecrest. I was so excited because a lot of us have labored here as architects and developers going back 20 years. So it was a great blessing to have Mr. Allen buy the rest of the land here. So we're excited, and we thank God for his legacy. I also had a chance to be inspired by him. I remember in 2018, I designed the Black International Wall Street Village, the mixed-use development. I got a ride with him too. Took me to Avalon and told me what he wanted. Took me to, drove me around Buckhead, told me what. And so we came up with a vision for him. But I'm just excited that Matt, I want to congratulate you guys and God bless you guys and condolences to the family of the Institute, as well as New Black Wall Street, and a great job you're doing here. But I hear you guys clearly, and Mr. Allen inspired me to get back into development in 2018. I had about an hour talk with him. He talked about his background in Detroit, how he got started, his entrepreneurial journey as a landowner, as well as a daycare owner. So that inspired me to get back because as African-American developers and architects and people in the industry, I was beat up. But I realized that this man came, God sent him to me to kind of revive me. So that was 2018. But I was the first developer of the office building at Stonecrest down the street. But a lot of us have come to this ground and we've been beat up. But what I realized was, let's go back and use our faith as well as get the basics and get inspired by people like Bill Allen. So thank God for his legacy. But we hear you clearly. I think part of what we have to do is educate a lot of young kids right now, and that's part of my job. Like we talked about living a life of a legacy, our job is to educate our community, especially the young kids, about real estate. So it's a business, and we have to realize that. It's about capital, and we're in the trenches, but we hear you clearly that we're not giving up. A lot of us are still in the game. We've been in the game over 30 years, but we're not giving up. So we thank you, and we thank the legacy of Bill Allen. And thanks to Madam.
Thank you, Boye.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Dr. Mama Nobantu Ankawanda, and I have been coming back and forth to New Black Wall Street Market for the last 3-4 years. Mr. Allen allowed us to have the Kwanzaa celebrations here, and I was able to have it happen, and he was really excited about it because he knew somebody in Detroit that was doing it, and he was always making sure that it continued to happen. and we hope that it continues. The staff here has also been supportive of the Collard Green Cultural Festival that I do here. And of course, earlier today, I didn't know about this, but I found out about it when I was celebrating my 77th birthday today in the Pink Lion Lodge. And Brother Nee told me about this event, and I'm so glad I'm here, and so glad to have had the opportunity to listen to all these great people sitting in front of me, and I certainly hope that I can entertain some of my visions in terms of what our farmers need to be doing. And that is, I think that because collard greens has been a staple for us for hundreds of years, that our farmers need to be growing these organic collard greens, and distributed across the country, starting from the south to the north. So I don't know, it's just a lot going on. And one of the things I want to ask the brother here, who's the chief now of the staff, is that right? There's a lot of people in the community who know I have been working up here asking questions about what they can do and what's going to happen to New Black Wall Street. And I'm wondering if there could possibly be a town hall meeting with community people that can come and talk, because there's a lot of ideas out there that people want to bring forth. And the community really wants to get involved and make sure that New Black Wall Street Market continues on and on forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kathy Smith. I am the owner of K Smiles Entertainment. I am entertainment, everything. I was just elated to be able to have the first stage play here, which we sold out. And from that point on, we had 12 shows. Why Am I Still Single is my stage play that I brought here. I love New Black Wall Street. From the day that I heard about it, I had to come up here, and I kept seeing this little man walking around, but I had no idea who he was until after my stage play, and they said, that's her, that's the one that I had close to 500 people here, my first stage play, and he wanted to meet me, and I was happy to meet him because we really did a great job of getting the people out. And from that point on, like I said, I did 12 shows. But what I really want to talk about is this one thing that I am proud of, is to say that I am Black History. I'm the first person in the world to have ever had an Elite Bodyguard Awards. I honor elite and celebrity bodyguards, Secret Service men, CEO, you name it. And I brought Black excellence to New Black Wall Street. I really did. We had so many celebrities, Tyrese Gibson. I mean, it was Congress people here. It was just so many people, and we brought Black excellence to Black Wall Street in November of last year, and I'm proud of that. And we're on our 5th show, which we're doing it one last time in Atlanta. We'll be moving it to LA. But what I want to say was just giving me that start, giving me that platform here at New Black Wall Street, and having Matt and Tawana and Ruben and Mr. Lloyd to really work diligently with me. I mean, really to see my vision through, and for them to give us a platform for things like this. I'm not entrepreneurship like I should be, but I'm eager to learn. I also have a bullying program for children. And I know Matt did the little bell on me, so I gotta go. But I just want to say thank you. And one thing I do want to enclose and say, until we learn to work together, we're gonna always be in the mud. We have to work together. We have to work together. And don't get so high up in the sky till you start looking down on people below you too. Because that's another thing that our people do. They get in position and they get up higher and they start devaluing people below them, not realizing where they came from. You ain't always been at the top. So don't look down on people that's trying and need a hand or a helping hand to get to the next level. Help your people. If you really I am my brother and sister's keeper, don't talk about it, be about it.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Who. Yes, my last name is Who. There is a black man out in these streets with a last name Who. Can you hear me now? All right. So I worked for Mr. Allen, and I've also had the opportunity to work with Dr. Brady for a very long time. And I did not know what to come up and say. So I'm just going to basically speak from the heart, and I think it resonates with what's going on now and what's going on with Dr. Brady and everybody's trying to push forward to. Mr. Allen had a lot of quotes, a lot of euphemisms, and a lot of things. But one thing that resonated with me that it didn't hit me till I heard that he passed away, and I think it hit everybody now. He would always say, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I spent years working with Mr. Allen, working with Dr. Brady, and see, everybody sees this, new Black Wall Street, but you didn't see all the other failures or the other things that did not work. All the other buildings that did get shut down, all the other things that did not come to pass. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Most of y'all did not know or see. We had the privilege of seeing Mr. Allen's elementary school, which was right here, and him looking out the window, and there's a cotton field. It's about the journey, not about the destination. Amen. You didn't see the years of frustration of saying, why is this not working? Why is this program not working? This is a great program. Why is this business not working? We did ideas. We had all these wonderful ideas, never came to fruition. It's about the journey, not the destination. And it did not hit me till he passed away. It's not about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. His journey still continues to live, even when his body's not here. Everybody's journeys we've all seen failures, all of us in this room. But we as people know how to rise up from these failures. We as people know how to rise up from our bootstraps and say, look, we still have a journey to do.
Thank you, Nick.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Ronnie. I'm just going to tell you something before I came to New Black Wall Street. I was in Decatur, and I have a warehouse with a store in the front. African fashion at its best and affordable for my people. People come in my store and they say, wow, you need to be in the New Black Wall Street. I said, well, I tried and I couldn't get in. But I was invited here to a fashion show, and Matt pulled me out. He said, I want you here. This is what we want at the New Black Wall Street. I'm one of the founding members here, and I'm determined to win at all times. I'm determined to teach the youth. I have the young mentees walking the New Black Wall Street for 2 years. And people were walking after them, running to come and buy items, teaching them how to talk to the clients, how to conduct themselves. I didn't think of their mother at the time because it takes a village to grow the kids. So we have been here. And Mr. Allen pointed me out in a meeting once. He said, do you sleep here? And I laughed. He said, because you're the first to come and the last to go. That's what I'm talking about. Until today, I'm still determined. So you can depend on me at all times to continue his legacy. You can depend on me. I'm teaching a trade to people who want to learn. I have a sewing class now that you can come and attend. It is free, but you can pay $25 to participate and get a kit and go home learning how to take 12 yards of fabric and turn it into $300. So please, don't stretch your hands and ask for things, because God gave us everything that we have. He said all that we see is ours. So come and learn, and come if you're an entrepreneur, come and be here with us. I've been alone for what, 15 years. Light bill, gas, Wi-Fi, everything. But now we are a family, we'll do it together. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Matt, may I just, well, very
Mr.
brief
Ho, go ahead.
statement. Okay. You know, the Black Wall Street is, and all of the properties, the Institute, the hotel, is Bill's project. We all know that. But every genius, every great person has a brain behind them. And for those of you who don't know, Matt Hampton was the brain behind Bill. Matt gave a lot. Bill had great confidence in Matt. Show him some love, please.
I appreciate it, Mr. Ho.
Show Matt some love.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Now, also, as Bill contemplated Black Wall Street, he needed a supporter, somebody who would say, Bill, I've got your back. And that man is sitting on the edge of this stage, Jamal Bryant. Jamal had his back.
He did.
Show him some love. Show him how you feel.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ho. I have one last, two young men that spent a lot of time mentoring and being a part of the fabric of the Allen Institute. One of these young men, anytime that we had a group there, he was always there, and so I must bring him forward. And also, his counterpart that's coming forward is also very, very close to Mr. Allen. So I would be remiss to close this out with not bringing forward Corey Ackerman and Fatima Umba. Would you all please come forward and make the final comments, and then we'll have remarks from the family.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good. So many deep stories about Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen was my sparring partner. I used to get under his skin. Good conversations. But I'm not gonna go deep, I'll go light. He mentioned this about the journey and not the destination or vice versa. For me, this one experience was about the journey and the destination. He was going down to Sarasota. He said, hey, I want you to come down to Sarasota with me. I got some work I'm doing down there. You know, just come hang out with me for a few days. I said, okay. But I want you to do something for me. He ain't never asked me anything. I want you to drive this truck for me back to Atlanta. How big is the truck, Mr. Allen? It's like a U-Haul, you know, it's not that big. You sure, Mr. Allen? Yeah. So we went back on the last day. We go to the lot, and he just bought the truck. And we passed truck number 1. Oh, this it? No, that ain't it. Truck number 2. This it? Nah, that ain't it. Truck number 3. I said, this ain't it. Oh, that's it. I said, Mr. Allen, this is a tractor trailer. I don't have that kind of license to even begin to drive this thing. You said it was as big as a U-Haul truck. He looked at it and said, I guess it is that big, huh? You think? So that's one of my many stories with Mr. Allen. So for me, it was about the journey and the destination. I made sure I left at 3 o'clock in the morning so there were no cars in the road so I could test this thing out from Florida back to Atlanta. That was my experience.
So my name is Corey Ackerman. Hey, how you doing, everybody? Spoke at the Allen Institute for probably, I'm guessing, 10, 15 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know, I may be going a little bit further, but I had a lot of time to spend time with him personally, travel with him, We took many expeditions to Mexico to buy artwork, which is one of his favorite things to do. Sorry about that. But one of the key things that he talked to me about, he said, Corey, you know, we have the marketplace and we have product and people are selling. He said, but I don't think we're making much of anything. And so I want to add to, you asked a question. Your question was, what do you believe as entrepreneurs, Brady and Dr. Hall should actually do? And tactically, very tactically, I want to say, I think we have to create makers here. Yeah. We got to go from being the people that are standing in the shop, waiting for people to come in, to being the people that make and manufacture product. I'm a product guy. A large part of what we're missing is long-term contracts. That's what happens when you jump from one level, generally, of revenue to another. Sometimes it's not long-term contracts, but I think if we can make and bridge the gap for people to become people that prototype, manufacture, and then bring it into distribution where it becomes wide-scale distribution and the larger checks can be written for the businesses that are here, we can grow. We're teaching, and we got the retail side, but unless you're growing or scaling a retail chain, I believe our focus should be in producing product, prototyping the product, using the creativity that's in our community to scale that and get into distribution channels. And so with that said, what does that look like? This looks like a place where we have shared manufacturing capabilities for people to be able to fabricate metal, textile, wood, plastic, foam, glass, whatever it is that the product that you make. Almost everything in the world is made from a few different things that are products. So if we can bring that here and have shared production, prototyping type stuff, then you just open a gateway for a whole group of people to be able to walk through the door, not just access here, but we walk in the CEO of Walmart, we walk in the CEO of Target, we walk in the CEOs of these retail companies and say, look, we're not here just selling stuff, we're making stuff. Yeah. Now there's a bridge into retail, that gets them into distribution, that gets them the long-term contracts. We line up the purchase order financing. We line up all of the things that they need to go from the concept of an idea, a dream that they have in their head, to a fully packaged, branded type product. And so I just want to throw that out there as a tactical thing. But on Bill Allen, a person I greatly respect as an entrepreneur. He wasn't a Sunday school teacher. He was a tough mentor. He would put his foot in your mouth and twist it if he had to, but he was getting a point across to you. And it was done in love. So I appreciated everything he did. I can't put it all into words right now, but just want to say thank you to everybody up here on the stage and for what you did. The Yali Fellows that came in last summer, I don't know if anybody came around for that. I know you were speaking there, but a group of highly selected professionals from Africa in a lot of different areas came here, received a lot from the whole AEI family. They've been doing that for years. I think that deserves a round of applause because if you know emerging economies, Africa is the spot. That is the place to be right now. That's where everything is happening. They're coming out and dominating on the music stage and the music forefront next to hip hop. So we have to, I believe, continue that relationship if we can. And I believe you came out of that program, correct? Yep. So enjoy speaking with them. And just wanted to say that to everyone. Thank you to all the AEI staff and everybody. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. You're spot on. Go ahead. Olada, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I believe everybody would agree with me. We've heard from everyone, but Matt, I think it's important we also hear from you. You've been a key part of Mr. Allen's journey for the past, for many years, and like Mr. Hall said, you've played a critical role, and it's important that we also hear your journey and what you have to say. Thank you.
Well, I won't hold the crowd long at all. I think the most important thing to understand is Mr. Allen would probably be having a fit if we sat in here and talked as long as we've talked tonight. And so the most important thing I want to share with you all is every one of you all in this room has something that you can contribute. And that could be, some of you all may be in a position where you want to invest in an entrepreneur. Some of you all may be great at teaching our kids how to become entrepreneurs. You know, I connected with Mr. Allen because I was teaching kids entrepreneurship, and they were the throwaway kids. But we were teaching them how to start real businesses, and you would see this life development happen. And at the same time, those kids that didn't have that exposure happen, I saw a lot of kids die. And so for me, this work is life or death in so many cases. And we were blessed to have somebody like Mr. Allen to follow behind. But what's most important is that all them kicks in the mouth, all of the parts of Bill Allen that made you better, we now have to live it. We've got to move forward. And this time, you know, as black people, I'll just be real. You know, some people were asking, why are y'all doing this stuff before the funeral? And I was just being real. Because as black people, we emotional. And we can forget something real quick. And so we had a lot of headwinds in doing this because there was a mistake and it caused, we had some challenges, I'll just put it that way. But it's important that while we are in our emotion, that we pause, we think, and it's most important, what Mr. Allen would be pissed off about is that we ain't doing no work. We've been talking for 2 hours. So it's very important that we move forward with integrity, that we move forward with strength, intelligence, brilliance, all the stuff that we are. But what's most important is that we put the work in. We have some fights, we have some challenges, we got some things that we got to get around, but we got so much talent and so many resources in this room. There is no way that we cannot impact this community, and especially you all are young people. That's not just something that we talk about. That's something that we can do. And again, I sat with a guy for 10 years that he really, the biggest thing that bothered him was not paying a light bill. It wasn't, even when we were going through challenges, he wasn't worried. He was just a chill. But he was like, man, I'm in the middle of the river. I'm going to keep swimming. I can't do nothing but that. I ain't no quitter. His biggest worry is that we would not be able to act without him. So my biggest thing is we've got to act, which leads me to the QR code. If you all have heard and you want to become doers of the word that you've heard, please scan that code and complete that information and become part of our efforts to move this market forward, to move this community forward, to move this county forward, to move this nation forward, and to move black people forward. That's what this is all about. We have a young lady, Kim, and some other members of our staff at the back that if you're a little older and can't deal with the QR code, just go talk to them and they're going to help you out. Because that's most important. And I would be remiss, thank you, Ololade. I do appreciate you recognizing and giving me the opportunity to share a few words with everyone. But I want to have the last words come from the family. Because so many times I would be standing right here, and y'all all know how it was. Everything would be going on, right? But we all would be waiting for Mr. Allen to dot that door. And the shit better be right when he dot the door. We're going to hear it. And so he's not going to dot that door. He's everywhere, Lord. But I think that the biggest debt that we owe is Mr. Allen gave of his family to be with us. And so I would be remiss not to have our final remarks before we close out to come from the representative of the family, the representative of Mr. Bill Allen, Mr. Dr. C.H. Brady. If you would make our final comment, sir.
I am, on behalf of our family, first of all, I would like to say thank you to all of our staff, to all of the vendors, all of the people who believe. I'm humbled to sit on this panel of these great people. I think that, as Matt said, we have everything we need, and I want to also give honor to Dr. Chan, who's the most senior staff, who's been with my godfather since 1997. And I just want to say thank you for allowing him to serve. And this is the beginning of legacy. This is when Joshua and Caleb has to rise up. And I believe that we have it and we're ready. And to Mr. Ho, it's an honor, to our elect CEO, to my brother. I think that it's time to be about it. And I certainly give God praise and honor for the legacy that Lecester Bill Allen has laid and put his footprint in this city. And now it's time for us to be about it. So thank you. Thank you, Matt, for everything you've done. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. And you know what? He would be going crazy right now. So may the Lord watch between.
All right. If all hearts and minds are clear, we are now dismissed. Thank you all so much.